Well, good morning. My name is Marion and I'm a farmer from Western Illinois, and I'm also the founder and the owner of Calmer Cornheads. And today it's a pleasure to have Randy Dowdy with us, a good friend of mine and a farmer from the Georgia area, and also world record holder in soybeans and one of the corn growers champions here. And so today I thought we'd talk a little bit about narrow rows. You know, the thing that I've looked at, I've had the pleasure of meeting, you know, Herman Warsaw, and he'd gone to 28-inch rows, and then Francis Childs and visited with him, and then he went to 20-inch rows, and then, you know, visiting with you, and you've gone to 15-inch rows, and every time we go to a narrower row spacings, we seem to kick it up another 100 bushel or so. So we went from 300 to 400, and then you're into that 500 bushel area. So what's your thoughts on narrow row corn?
Well, I believe in farming more the acre, number one. Most people use broadcast fertility as their method of delivery. And, you know, obviously, fertility does you good, it does you well whenever it's in the root zone.
Yep.
And more importantly, when it's in the plant. And there's a lot, in my opinion, that fertilizer is underutilized because when you're on wider row spacings, you know, it's about just a natural 30-degree angle, those roots are growing, and you know, fertilizer's got to be in the root zone. So how much is in the surface between those two 30-inch rows? That's the deal. So due to I'm lazy, we had planned on some 30s and we're banding fertilizer. And I said, you know, this is just a long, laborious process. I'd much rather figure out another way. And our way was to go to 15s. We had done 36-inch twins in the beginning. We had a 12-inch twin with a 36-inch center between the two twins.
Yep.
That's where we made 500 the first time. Then we went to 30-inch rows, made up to 486, and then now we made over 500, you know, with 15-inch rows. And for me, it's about farming more of the acre. It's about spreading the seed out in the drill. It's about capturing more sunlight, etc. There are a couple of disadvantages, but you know, if you have cool nighttime temperatures, you really cool the plant down there in the day. I mean, you can get 10 or 15 degrees cooler in the canopy, and that's critical. But when you got 80-degree nights, now you may need a way to cool that plant down because the heat doesn't escape. We use irrigation to do that. But for a lot of guys that have 60-degree nights, I don't know why they're not looking at it. I mean, it's a tremendous advantage there.
Yep. So you know, as we think about all of the corn growers in the past, and they keep moving in narrower rows, and they keep pushing those yields on up. You know, the thing we built a 12-inch corn head, and I've been around some 12-inch row corn, and you're at a lot higher population than I am. You know, I'm still 30,000, seems to be fine. I'm in 15-inch rows. You're pushing those yields, and you're pushing populations, you know, up around 44, 45,000. And the thing that intrigues me about 12-inch rows is that if we go 12 inches by 12 inches, that's 1 foot by 1 foot, that's 43,560 plants per acre. A chance to spread them out even more, and we know the corn's a grass. And if we're looking for maximum yield, maximum weed control, maximum erosion control, I mean, it's going to be solid seeded. So are you going to be the next guy that's going to take us to the next level, to the 600 bushel corn? And what's your thoughts on 12-inch rows?
I was the first to make 5, and I tease David all the time that I want to be the first to be 6.
So, I figured that.
A lot of competition between us, and we have fun with it, but there's no doubt about it. 12-inch would intrigue me. Obviously, there's planter issues. You got to figure out, you know, number one, purchasing it and getting into production and getting the bugs worked out of it, especially where you're planting in strip till, cover crops and things like that. How well will it flow? But then you also have to think about resale. You know, not everybody's just going to pick up and say, I want to plant 12-inch, especially if Randy Dowdy used to own this planter. That's not necessarily how it works. But I'm intrigued, no doubt about it. And you mentioned high pops. You know, in production, we go down to 28,000 all the way up to 56,000, and we spread risk in between. And if you think about 15-inch rows, which is what we're on now, 15 inches in the drill is at 28,000 plant population. On 15-inch rows. It makes a stalk like a water bottle. And on a larger stalk, and you're intercepting that much light, and you're making 11, 12 bushels per thousand. That's been verified on my farm by university people. You're making 10 to 12 bushels per thousand at 28,000 plant population. That's over 330 bushel corn.
Exactly.
ROI is there all day, every day.
I think that we're going to see it, and that's a great thing with 15-inch rows. We have 15-inch
Right.
planters, and we've got the resale. So the 12-inch thing is something for us to look at in the
I'm
future.
very interested.
So as we start, growing more and more corn, I mean, we're all doing it every year. We're growing more and more residue, more and more fodder every year.
That's right.
And that becomes more of an issue. And I know that you were able to grow the world record on soybeans.
Yep.
And so the one of the things that we've had on the corn head that you use that we build is the BT choppers.
Yep.
And so what do you think of residue management, and how important is it?
Well, when I go around and speak, part of the problem in the Midwest is that there's 44 farmers. They plant for 4 weeks, harvest for 4 weeks. They pretty much take things off the rest of the other 44. And unfortunately, I've told farmers that, we need to break out the tradition of the way we've always done things. And I said, in my opinion, there's 2 or 3 things you should be doing. Number one, you should be harvesting at higher moistures because there's phantom yield loss.
Yep.
Purdue has proven numerous times that there's maximum ROI harvesting high moisture corn.
Yep.
So I highly advocate that guys do that. I highly advocate that, even if they wait till drier moistures to do it, that they have a head or to minimize that litter. And then behind it, be chasing the combine out of the field and doing some kind of incorporation. And the
Yep.
smaller that fodder is, the quicker it's going to break down.
Right.
And the quicker it's going to break down, the more we're going to release some of that tied up nutrients for next year.
Yep.
And with the economy we have today, it's all about ROI. We
You
have
betcha.
3 in front of corn and 8 in front of beans. We have to consider ways to do that without necessarily making an additional pass across the field. And the head, for us, it's a no-brainer to minimize that residue as much as we can with that pass with harvest.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been, for years been producing the 10-bladed BT chopper. And so we've been noticing this increase in residue levels, and so our job is to try to come out with the next stalk roll. And so we just this year came out with the 12-bladed, and so now we'll be able to take the pieces that used to be 1.25 inches, and now we'll be able to make them down even to 1 inch.
Wow.
But the thing that I'm looking at here is that you're a great example of, some days you get to harvest in dry conditions, but you spend a lot of your time in green corn.
Yep.
And you also spend a lot of your time picking down corn.
Yep.
And a couple of hurricanes, and for me, I think anybody can go in on a dry crop and do a pretty decent job of chewing it up. But what we like to do is make sure that we can handle it under damp conditions. And I was excited by your comments when you came up and you saw the 12-bladed super chopper, and you're just like, yeah, I want that on my head next
Yep.
year. So we'll work on that.
Good deal. Well, I want to vet it. I'd love to take and get ahead to have the old design that's tried and true and proven, and let's compare it to the new one, and maybe I can take some pictures behind it and see what's up. Before I had the same concept of managing residue, and before we came along, I looked at these chopping corn heads.
Yeah.
And I ran some chopping corn heads, and they took some horsepower away from the combine. Number one. Number two, we had to have skirts on them, and more importantly, stupid rotary fan in the back constantly stayed stopped up with dust and dirt, because when you do harvest high moisture corn, there's moisture in there.
Absolutely.
And that dust is wet, and it gravitates straight to that screen. With this, we don't have that problem. We don't spend 3-4 times a day blowing out radiators and cleaning rotary brushes and those things, rotary fans with a rotary brush, etc. So that, to me, was well worth not having the hassle and the expense of time. So I appreciate the fact that you've been, you've thought outside the box, and your ingenuity has, proven to be a plus for the farmer.
You betcha. Well, we appreciate that, and we enjoy working with you, and
Yes, sir.
and we look to keep going to the future and trying to break some new territory, and we'll see if we can help you get to that 600 bushel mark as quick
Can't
as
wait.
possible. So as always, good to have you in our booth, and
Yes,
we appreciate everything that you do, and you're so willing to share that information, with all the other farmers, and that's what's really important.
Well, when I got started, Marion, it was one of those deals that people wouldn't share information with me.
Yeah.
And I felt like it was critical that if I ever had success, to pay that knowledge forward.
Yep.
So it's my good pleasure to do those things, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to be here.
You betcha. Well, again, we appreciate you coming by the booth. Good luck next year. Thanks, Randy. Well, from all of us here at the Commodity Classic, it's been great to see everybody stop by our booth. As always, feel free to check us out on our website at calmercornheads.com. Call our front office at 309-629-9000. And like I always say in my videos, feel free to call me on my cell phone at 309-368-1182. And with that, we hope you have a